Welcome to the Strategy Mob Podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here with Digital Dealership Solutions. Hey, thanks for joining me in another episode of Coffee with Jason. Today, I have a very special guest, Mr. Joe Triana. Yes, I got that right. Joe, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no worries. It's glad, I'm glad to finally be able to connect with you and just kind of, I guess have a cup of coffee together and.
Yeah, I wish I had my coffee. I don't even know. I feel naked in this podcast, and I don't have a coffee today.
No, you're good, man.
Hey, Joe, for everyone out there that's watching right now and are listening, and they kind of don't know your background and how you got started in the industry, if you can kind of give us that 2-minute origin story that is Joe, that's how we'll get started.
Well, it happened long 15 plus years ago.
It was a dark and stormy night.
I was washing cars in Enterprise rental car, and I was servicing a local dealership.
Nice. Is that actually where you got started? Is that you got started? You were washing cars in the Enterprise?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. All right,
I was their customer relations person, and I got to know the dealership really well. And I told my boss, I'm like, we need to make them a priority. We need to take care of them. And so she's like, you know what? I agree, Joe. And I was like, oh, perfect. Let's make sure that they're a top priority because they're sending us tons of business, and I just want to make sure that they're like appreciated. So this was early 2000s, and I met with a guy by the name of Dino and another guy by the name of Randy Mack. And he got to know me, and he's like, hey, come in my office. I want to talk to you. And so, flash forward after a dinner with some margaritas, and I became their service advisor. And so got my start in the dealership world. I was at a GM store in California, spent, a couple years there. Flash forward to my time in Arizona. I worked with couple auto groups down there in Arizona on the service drive, primarily in fixed operations. Okay. And then I was down there. I worked for the Van Tile Group, which is now Berkshire Hathaway. Worked with some really great people that took me under their wing. A guy by the name of Tom Finnan, his group. I mean, I was very fortunate to have a lot of people that just showed me the ropes. Otherwise, I mean, this business it's sink or swim, man. And you got to learn quick. Otherwise you're done. So
it's true.
Spent some time down there. We've got family up in the state of Washington. That's where I'm at currently. So we relocated to the state of Washington, worked for outside sales, did like wholesale accounting with BG products. Also was working with local Ford dealership. I always seemed like I was in service, and then I oh my goodness, I'm blowing up here.
You must know you're on the podcast. They're like,
I know. Let me turn that off here a second. Sorry, man.
No worries.
But yeah. So, anyways, I from there was in the dealership atmosphere, and I knew I needed to do more. I needed to better myself, and I needed to become more versatile. Mm-hmm. So. I was approached by a company by the name of eAdvisor. They gave me an opportunity to pound the pavement, start talking with customers, and I started outside sales, doing that for about 2 years, and that was great. It just got me to be able to network with so many different people, and then from there I was approached by another company called Auto Alert, and
I think I've heard of them before.
Great.
I'm pretty sure I have.
Yeah, great experience. They had some stuff that they had to go through, and they had some challenges, and they had to downsize their company. And guess what, Joe? You're part of
good to go.
You're like, hey, thank you, Joe. So, you know what though? I took that, and I was thankful for that because it taught me so much in that period of time. and it made me become, I think, more of like a hybrid. So I've got fixed operations, learning the variable side. So right now, currently, I'm running their platform for one of my dealerships that I worked with.
Okay.
And so that's what I'm doing. I'm the brand loyalty manager. I
Now, I
call
gotta say, I love that title, by the way. Like a
oh,
brand loyalty manager. I'm curious, is that something the dealership came up with, or is that something that you decided to come up with?
I just threw it up there, man, because
Okay.
I
That looks good. We'll throw it up there.
no, I mean, because you see all these things like quality assurance manager and okay, quality, and then you got all these different titles and names, and I'm like, here we are, where everything you see, it's brand, brand, brand. So I just said, you know what? I'm going to be called the brand loyalty manager. So then when somebody asks me, I say, I I'm all about maintaining the brand of the dealership,
Yep.
the reputation. We can also say I'm maintaining the Ford brand. It can go so many different ways.
Yeah, and
So
it's loyalty. I like the word loyalty, right? Because I think at the end of the day that it is one of our goals and objectives as a dealership to maintain loyalty, but we use a stupid word for it. Like I actually don't like the word retention. You know what I mean? Like to me, retention just seems, I don't know. I mean, it seems heartless. It doesn't seem to have like a human to human kind of connection, right?
yeah,
Loyalty, on the other hand, is something that is earned and is something that you continue to maintain, right?
yeah,
People can come. Your retention, all right. You could retain them as a customer. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're loyal to you, though.
hmm
That may just be that they purchased a prepaid maintenance package or something like that. So therefore, they're almost kind of retained to you, to get that work done. It's like, but loyalty goes so much farther than that. So, let's start with that. Walk me through some of the loyalty activities that you would do on a day-to-day basis.
I look with all the information that I've got on the platform I work. I see how many vehicles they've purchased,
Mm-hmm.
lifetime value. To me, those are byproducts, but I look to see, I see service history. I see a lot of that.
Yeah.
And so there's times where I will reach out to them, whether it's a phone call or whether it's just a marketing piece. I don't put together canned marketing pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I send genuine marketing pieces that are like, hey, thank you for your business.
See, I like that.
And when you do that, it sets you apart from your competition. And I hear it all the time. Hey, what's the difference between Ford dealership A and Ford dealership B? They all have the same incentives. You could go from this to this, and everybody's
Mm-hmm.
gonna play the pricing game. So though I'm there trying to move units, sell cars, and that's the goal at the end of the day. There's times where
But
people
that's a
vent.
byproduct, though. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like that's just a byproduct of your efforts. I mean, it's
yeah,
like, yes, we know that that's the goal and objective, but I mean, I love, because I want to stop there real quick, just because that message is so important. Of
yeah,
thanking someone for their customer is what you do when you're trying to maintain loyalty. Right, sending
yeah.
them an offer or a discount off of their next oil change because you haven't seen them in 6 months. That's retention.
hmm
Totally different.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done soft email marketing introductions, but they're very thoughtful.
Mm-hmm.
And whether they're a service conquest customer, I'll send out just a general thank you. And I say, hey, we appreciate your business. There's all these companies around us that you can service your car at, but you've chosen us. And for that, I thank you. So then from there, I'll lead into hey, how's your car doing? We're always looking for pre-owned inventory. So if you're ever in the market
Mm-hmm.
to sell your vehicle, I'll take that approach because it differentiates you from the other people, because they're like, oh, they're trying to buy vehicles. Maybe if I don't have that vehicle they're talking about, maybe I've got another vehicle. So it opens you up to opportunities. And then I kind of finish it up with a, hey, we have an upgrade program. So if you're ever interested in that, I can definitely go over that with you. But I keep it simple.
Sure.
And I, even though I'm 70 miles from the dealership, the times that I've been there, I've had customers walk in based off of that thank you letter.
Because it means a lot to them. I mean, think about this. It's 2020. How many businesses out there say thank you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just generally just say thank you. We wouldn't be here, all right? These employees wouldn't be here. These lights wouldn't be on. This building wouldn't be here. That flag outside would not exist unless you had chosen to engage with us and do business with us. Like, shit, people, let's thank them.
Yeah. It's amazing how far that goes along. And and they may not reply to you right away, and that's fine. And you know what? I've had customers that 3-4 weeks down the road, they'll reply off of that same thank you letter and say,
I think that's a good point too, right? Because like, let's say this, I'm thinking even like, I see this a lot, right? Like, you'll go out of your way to send a thank you card to someone. And I actually remember this because my wife and I, we had a birthday for one of the kids, right? And she sent out thank you cards, to everyone.
Yeah.
And then I remember a few weeks later, she commented and said, well, so-and-so never responded back to me. I was like, like for some reason, we seem to think that just because we go far enough to thank someone, that there has to be some expectation of like some type of communications back. Like, I think what it is that there has to be like a legitimate thank you. Like, it's just, I thank you for it. I'm not expecting anything in return. All right. But I thank you for it. And hey, by the way, I'm here, if you need me, I got you. Like,
yeah. And people sometimes, I'll follow up with them when they tell me to. And sometimes they've maybe gone a different direction. And I'm like, hey, I'm glad, we've kept this communication open. I appreciate you letting me know where you're at, because, I just want to make sure that I can take care of you the best that I can. And maybe we'll have an opportunity to do business down the road. And I leave it at that, because you just got to take care of people as best as you can and show them you're genuine, because I think
genuine.
Sales,
right? Like you didn't come out and say, hey, call me today and I'll get you an extra $5,000 for your trade. Like, you didn't say that. All right. Yeah. You're being genuine, saying, when you're here, I'm here,
Yeah. And when people, when you're on the phone and when you get people on the phone, they're like, oh man, trying to sell me something and trying to buy, sell me a new truck and I try to get past that and get them comfortable and say, well, look, based off where you're at, it looks like you had to put about 7 G's down last time. So if you're okay with doing that and saving $7,000, the next time you do this, perfect. If not, I think we have some options for you. So before you decide to keep ghosting me on my emails and my voicemails, you might want to give this a good look. And I just tell them I'm here to try to help you any way that I can. And I'm only here to let you know that you're in a good position to consider this, because how many times do people take their car loan, the length of the car loan? I mean, what's the percentages of that? I mean, I talked to a GM of mine over in Florida, and he says, I'm not sure the exact number, but I think maybe 3 or 4 years before people start looking.
It changed the demographic, but that's pretty common, between 4 to 5 is usually common.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot to consider, and I'm having fun just making some of my transitions and just, I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone. Where this is going to lead to, I don't know. It's like,
well, I'm curious real quick. I got one for you. How much of your communication efforts doesn't have the goal and objective to convert them into a sale?
Well, I mean,
it's not anything against you. This is an industry-wide thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. That's what rules everything. I mean, they're just all about the sell.
But they say that on one hand, and then the other hand, they're like, I want to create a relationship with you. I'm like, what? Then create
Yeah.
an effing relationship with me. Like
Oh, yeah.
how long have we been talking about relationship selling and relationship creating and the importance of maintaining and building relationships in our industry? Like we've been talking about it forever, but like what the hell are we doing about it? We're sending them offers for discounted oil changes. Oh, did I lose you? Oh, there you go. I lost your audio for a second. Okay, now you're back.
Okay. So I had a walk around training.
Yep.
And he told me, Joe, it's when you can stand side by side with that customer and you can make decisions together is when you know that you've gained that relationship and you've gained that trust. And so I would always look for that when I was on the drive or when I was working with customers, because you're making decisions together. And so those things, man, a guy by the name of Gary Callis, that was the guy that taught me that. And I was just like, shit, some of these things just stick with me, because you take the good and the bad and you just put it all together, and you just try to find a way that you can do the business that you can the best way. But when we were talking about the relationship, I was making a call the other day, and this customer's great opportunity. I get them on the phone and they just are venting about their experience and just they're having a tough experience in service. So I got to back down the sales spectrum here, and
for sure,
because you know what, you have to take care of what their issue is.
Well, you had an opportunity to actually be a person.
Yeah, and so I talked to the guy. Yeah,
like you just like I understand. Just like let's chat about this, because that sounds like that sucks.
Yeah. So he tells me and takes me. We go down the road together, and I've heard these conversations before, and I know where it's going, and the best thing that I can do is I can forward that to my management department to let them know, hey, this customer owns a Navigator. They've also got a Hellcat. They've got a Rubicon. They've got this. They're a beacon. We might want to take care of this customer, because this is a opportunity that if we just let them go by the wayside, it's stupid, because we've already captured them, and they're already our customer. They're wanting to do business with us.
But that's a different frame of mind between retention and loyalty. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when you're looking to create loyal customers, then you look for these types of opportunities, and when you have them, you got to run with it. So you had an opportunity here. All right. You knew this was going to go one way or the other, right? Like either I was going to come out being, my superhero cape flopping behind me, and I'm going to be Mr. Loyal, or this is going to be like, we're going to lose a customer here because this customer is legitimately pissed off, and either because we actually did something wrong or we didn't do something wrong. That doesn't really matter, because that's his perception. People have to understand that perception is not truth. It is just how that customer is perceiving whatever the situation is, right? Like, for some reason, a lot of times, like we get these complaints and we just like, I don't know, we like put our guard up and we're like, what do you want to do? You want to fight? You want to fight? You want to fight? Those sound like fighting words. They're not fighting words. That's just how that person perceives the series of events went. It's not truth, right?
Yeah.
So like you have this opportunity to be a human, to connect with someone. Walk me through it. How'd it go?
Well, I just listened, because he wasn't getting return calls, and I'm limited to what I can do on my platform. If it was my dealership, obviously I'd be chewing some ass because, and I just said, look, let me look into the matter. I said, I've got experience on the fixed, on the service side. And also, I'm really here, when I talked to them on the phone, I said, I'm here to see how you're doing. And obviously we've missed the mark somewhere. And he just started laughing. When you get somebody to laugh and kind of chuckle, you've got them to a comfort level somewhat.
Yep.
But I said, you know what? Let me make sure that the people that need to know about what has happened, make sure that they're aware of this, because they're the final decision makers. And And I said, I'll do everything I can on my platform, but I appreciate you letting me know what's going on, because I don't want to lose you as a customer.
Yes. So how do you flag that? Because I was doing a BDC training the other day, and I don't do a lot of training and coaching, but this particular customer of ours has been with us for a while and been doing digital marketing and video production with us for a long time. And, they were struggling to find someone that was going to be able to help them train or coach their BDC. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. Right.
Yeah.
And, just kind of going in there, one of the first things I was really kind of surprised about was just communication processes. So BDC, you're offsite, which I don't care if it's offsite or upstairs or whatever. There's still a distance between you and what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always curious about concerns and stuff. Like, what is the process for you? Like, how do you flag something like that? Do you define what the process is when the dealership gets a flag and how it gets responded to?
What I do is I make sure that the primary decision makers in that situation are aware of what's going on, because they may not even know.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, the book of business that the dealership has is sizable, and there's a lot that goes on, and with turnover and training new salespeople and doing this one day and doing that, there's a lot of shit that's on their plate. So
Yep.
I make sure that I touch all the important people that are in that group, in that dealership, because
Now, is someone at the dealership actually, like, I was saying, like, where's the buck stop? You know what I mean? Like, who, like, okay, cool. You've talked to this customer. I think there's some opportunities to probably make this a win instead of a loss. It's like, you're going to flag this information. You're going to send this over. But then how do you know for sure the dealership is going to hold themselves accountable with the information that you actually end up providing?
I set up my own reminders, and I have a pretty decent memory, but I'll jot down everything, and because I don't know why I forget I remember all the shitty deals, and so sorry to say that, but I mean, all the heat issues, I remember them, man. I could call a heat issue back from 2009. I don't even know why, but it's just because it burned into my memory. So I set up a good process of follow up, and you just have to be consistent, because there's so much information that you have, and if you don't set up some type of order of maintaining that, you're going to get lost.
Now, was this a service customer or sales customer?
Well, I was trying to
really
get
kind of both, but
yeah, I mean, it's kind of both, because they were in a great position. They were going to, lower their monthly substantially.
Okay, so this particular call that you did was a sales call.
It really was, but you have to kind of had to ask the right questions. So
you flagged the issue. You sent it over to the dealership. Now, what did the dealership actually do?
Well, this just happened. So it's been a few days since this happened. So I'm going to be following up here, by tomorrow. But we'll see where it goes from there. I mean, I generally will follow up to see where it's at and see, if it's been handled, what kind of resolution we have in place, because I don't know both sides of the story, because I'm not on.
Oh, of course.
Because you know what? The story they tell me and what's going on actually could be totally different, but you have to, take it for what they're telling you.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the warning, red flags that I saw were like, oh my gosh, the cost to acquire customers is insane. It's huge. So you have somebody that is willing to work with you. And this customer, they were an Escalade owner. They were a GM owner. And they got pissed off.
I see where you're going with that. It's not just the customers. Who else that customer is going to talk to?
Yes. So they left the GM brand because they got pissed off because of the way they were treated. So they just dumped their Escalade, went to a Navigator, and so I'm like, damn, these people, if they're not taken care of, they're just going to keep hopping. So we need to find a way to, make sure that they're cool and make sure they're taken care of. So it initially was an upgrade and it was a sales call, but you have to take that conversation, and you need to go in the right direction with the customer.
Yep.
Sure they're taken care of right. And so that's what I did in that matter. So, and it's funny because I've established good relationships with people in a short period of time doing what I'm doing for my platform. They will actually reach out to me and say, "Hey, when are you going to be at the store?" Because they want to deal with me.
Well, of course they do, because they actually made a connection with you, right?
Yeah,
Like, through your tonality, through the verbiage, all right, you've actually been able to show that you give a shit.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I mean, people want to do business. Yeah, people want to do business with people that actually care.
Yeah,
It's not news. It's not new news, is it? Maybe
Yeah.
for some people it is.
And this day, you see all the leads coming in from all these platforms. So, there a lot of salespeople are reactionary, and they're just like trying to get them in the door and and pound them over the head and send them on their way. And I'm just like, dude, you guys have a great book of business. Why don't we just work that? And but everybody does things differently. So I'm going to continue being Joe.
You continue being Joe. I got one for you. I had a dealership, and I was sitting in the manager's office, and just waiting for him to get off a call or something like that, so that we can get our meeting started, right? And one of the admin people came in with a stack of looked like letters, right? Kind of like a thank you card or something like that. At least that's what I thought it was. I thought it was a thank you card. And I can kind of see, just kind of looking over the desk. I was like, wait a second. That doesn't say thank you. That says sorry. And of course I had to ask. And I said, what is that? He's like, oh, these are our sorry cards. I'm like, you're what? He goes, look, man, sometimes we're not always going to meet everyone's expectations. We're going to try our freaking hardest, but sometimes we're going to fall short. And I understand that. If people are willing to send out thank you cards, I'll send out an I'm sorry card. I just had to I had to stand there for a moment, and I'm like, yeah, that's why you're consistently always going to be successful. It was just that you know what I mean? Like, this guy was so focused, not necessarily on retention. He didn't necessarily have a mindset of retention. He had a mindset of loyalty.
Yeah.
And this guy was willing, as a dealer principal, he was willing to come out and apologize. I'm sorry. You know what? My team wasn't on their A game that day. We may not have hit the mark that you were expecting. But we're sure in the hell going to try harder next time. I hope you give us the opportunity to do so. Like,
oh yeah, yeah.
I was like, damn. I'm like, talk about just being a human being and a person. and being vulnerable, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, I just thought that was pretty cool, and I think that a lot of dealerships may try to incorporate that into their own. It's like, look, it's
you have to have some level of being personable and especially you mentioned the other day about like Facebook marketing and stuff, and I know the value of that. And you had mentioned, hey, what are you just posting shit to post shit? There's John,
a lot of people too.
There's John with this sign. Hey, thank you, John. And I see a lot of that stuff going on, and it's you have to have a focus of how you're marketing. And
I think you have to have a strategy, right? Like, look, even if you have a mindset of retention, there's still a strategy behind the retention, right? You clearly work out a strategy with your clients as far as communication efforts, when you're going to communicate, when you're not going to communicate, how long we communicate in between them, what is the different type of conversations you're going to have. It's like, we're not going to just keep hitting them with the exact same message every single time. We have to alter that message. Like, there's a strategy. There's legitimately a strategy that has to be in place. Mm-hmm. It's no different than if you want loyalty. If you want to create loyal customers, and when I think about loyal customer, that's the customer that is at work standing around the water cooler, and someone says something like they're thinking of looking to buy a new truck, and they're like, let me tell you about where you need to buy that truck, with conviction, right? Like, with straight up conviction, let me tell you where you should buy that next truck. Yeah. I mean, that is the best form of marketing. We were talking earlier about the cost of acquisition. There you go. Like if we as a dealership change our mindset to a loyalty mindset, all right, our cost of acquisition continues lower because literally we're creating loyal customers. Loyal customers, all right, feel good about doing business with you. They want other people to feel good too. So they will literally be walking, talking billboards for you.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know, but we're short-sighted to do that, and I don't know why.
I think because this is just what I would see when I was, going in store to store. you got desk managers, you got dealer principals. They're inundated with, certain things, and there's nobody that's keeping the staff accountable.
I like that. In fact, actually, I love the fact that you use that word because I just saw on LinkedIn, I connected with a couple of them, a position that I had never seen before. And they were the accountability manager for the group. And I was like, ooh, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So I immediately had to reach out to him and find out what is it? What's an accountability manager? Because I'm excited.
Yeah. So there's nothing there. And I think dealerships and GMs and desk managers, they get scared because turnover is so bad. And I see it and I'm like, so why are they not working the platform? Why are they not making their calls? Well, John sells 11 cars a month or 15 cars a month. And, we've had 2 or 3 new people come and go in the last 60 days. And, it's almost like they're willing to give up these opportunities and retain those customers, retention or whatever, because, John's going to do what he's doing regardless. And he's not going to work the platform. He's not going to document stuff in the CRM, which is like the God world of everything.
Well, because again, he's just focused on that 30-day cycle. So why? It's not going to benefit him over the next 30 days. So why?
Yeah. And so here I am. I'm Joe, the brand loyalty manager. I'm reaching out to these customers and they're like, oh yeah, I went in and I saw so-and-so. And I'm like, well, shit, I've been trying to get
notes.
I'm like, there's no notes. There's no nothing. And I'm like, oh, it's frustrating, man. So there's just the accountability is.
Have you met a dealership yet with an accountability manager?
I haven't seen one yet. No.
Okay, so I reached out to a couple because I was super curious, right?
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's actually I would say the evolution of a sales manager's role.
Really?
That's really what it is. Think of like I remember my first sales manager. Oh geez, I remember George. Oh, that guy must have smoked a carton of cigarettes a day. He wasn't, think of that old school sales manager. He was the big heavy. That's what he was, right?
Yeah.
It happened to be, I remember George was actually a very heavy and large guy, but he was the guy that came in, he was the closer. That's what he did, right?
Yeah.
He came in as the sales manager and it was like set down. I remember he always used to do this thing with his fingers, like crack all his knuckles like simultaneously. And I was just, and but that was his job. That was his responsibility, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But so much has changed, right? Technology has changed so much. The efforts that are required now, those activities and those efforts that are required to get the customer into the dealership and then to get them back maybe for another visit. It's just, there's so much that goes into it. It's not just about closing the deal right there and then, it's about really holding our team accountable for their efforts, for their activities. So that's actually what this person's job responsibility was. You could have easily just called him a sales manager, but instead they called him an accountability manager. And that's what his role at the dealership was to hold people accountable for the process and the activities that they've deemed required to get to the results that they wanted to get to.
It's big, man. When you it's really big when you think about that, because if you don't do these things, and I had a store that when I was more out in the field, I had a Ford store that I was working with, and they just said, hey, none of my guys are making calls.
Yeah.
And he was pissed. He came back from a Ford meeting and he's just like, what the hell's going on here? And he made it a mandatory thing. He was like, hey, we need to do this many calls before you hit the floor or before you hit an up.
Yep.
And the next time I met with him, like the call volume was insane. they went off the charts, and I'm like, I almost wanted to hug the guy because I was like, thank you. I was like, you had to scare the shit out of these guys, but you know what? Sometimes there's different types of motivation.
That's true.
So it was, sometimes by fear.
Well,
But,
you know what though? I probably wouldn't go that direction. I probably wouldn't go, but there's still accountability, right? I mean, you have to hold someone accountable. And I really think, when I'm thinking of doing these podcasts and I'm thinking about my opportunities where I get to chat with you, and you're a frontline man, like you're consuming everything. I mean, you're hearing everybody's likes, everybody's dislikes. You're getting hung up on. You're getting chatted to about everything and anything under the sun for 12 whatever minutes at a time. It's like literally, like I know that you, without even knowing the dealership, all right, probably within the first few hundred calls you get to do with them or for them, all right, that you get a temperature of what is the commitment of this dealership is to actual creating loyalty or just focusing on just transactions.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're like, yeah, that's true. And,
so they do sign your checks right now.
You do send your checks. Okay. Well, you get to work with a lot of different. You get to work with a lot of different dealerships. So here's my next question. I love identifying patterns, and you are what I'm looking at. Like, there's this great data point here, right? There's this source of data. You're consuming. You're making phone calls. Are you taking calls too, or is it just outbound efforts?
Most of it's outbound.
Okay, so most of it's outbound. So you're you're reaching out, man. So you are really getting the truth, the perception of these customers have of each of their dealerships. Now, I'm confident that you've seen some patterns. All right, with dealerships that are just really crushing it. How is that call different from a dealership that's crushing it versus one is just like, oh God, do I really want to make any more calls for these guys? You mean
you've been getting chewed out all day?
Yeah, so walk me through that, man. Like, it's just like, do you see these patterns?
Yeah, I mean, you see the patterns and you pick up on it real quick. Because a lot of it can point back to service and how they're taken care of. And there's that old saying, sales sells the first car and service sells the next 3 cars, and there's still truth to that. And that guy that I talked to the other day that was frustrated, he said, you know what, I gauge my relationships based on how well I'm taken care of in service.
Yep.
And I said, yeah. I knew you were going to say that, damn it. So
it's good.
And you get a quick deal on that, and you just, the importance of that. And you can pick up real quick, and right away the stores that are doing well, just because they have good continuity between departments. A lot of my success when I was, on the service drive was I established great relationships between my sales and my fleet department. And
oh, that's important.
Yeah, because there's stores you walk into and it's like, I freaking hate those guys in service. They're trying to take money out of my pocket, and or they don't call their customers back, and so I just I've always worked to try to have a good connection there, because I've taken customers that were in a position where it's not worth it for them to put money into their car.
Sure.
I would walk them up to the front, and I would stand with them and help them orchestrate and close a deal, just because that was the best thing that I would suggest at that time for the customer, if they were willing to move forward. So, I know the importance of that, and I see it a lot day in and day out. And
well, I think what it is what it comes down to, Joe, is people.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You're in the people business.
Yep.
I still don't think that as an industry we put enough emphasis on our people. And the reason I say that, I have a reason. This is not like a gut feeling kind of a thing. This is just, I'm looking at it as an actual dollar spent kind of a thing, right? Yeah. I'm looking at the insane amount of money that we put into marketing, and then I look at the amount of money that we're putting into people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it is just such an insane difference and ratio between how much money we continue to put into marketing and how much money we continue to put into developing our people. All right. Yet when I look at the core of why someone does or does not do business with you, all right, one of the biggest reasons, which I'm sure you get this a lot, is people.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just kind of curious, what percentage, and you ballpark this for me, right? What percentage of phone calls do you take where a salesperson or a service person's name gets dropped? Like, would you say 60% of the time someone
It's probably it's half, maybe half the time.
So over 50% of the time,
Yeah.
all right?
Yeah.
And this is why, and I'm trying to drive this home for dealerships that are listening and watching this, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm really trying to drive home the importance of our people, okay? Because those people, right, when they're talking to them, they mention them both in positive and in negative ways, right?
Yeah.
Like you can create loyalty and lose loyalty for the exact same reason. Your people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what are we doing then to, to coach and train and develop out our people so that they have that mindset of loyalty and not necessarily transaction. I mean, I find managers, like I'll go to dealer principals, like I do tons of these meetings and the owner's like, absolutely, I want happy, loyal, loving customers. And I'm like, okay, well, it's clear that your service manager doesn't know that.
He must have missed that meeting. Yep.
He must have missed that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so, because they're so transaction. It's like we're so transaction focused. But we talked a little earlier during the show that what that cost of acquisition is, and having a loyal customer is so much less expensive than to consistently be in this mode of acquire, right?
Oh, and I think that's a lot of how dealerships are geared, and they're just. I understand, you got your internet leads and you got all these different things, and but when you have a book of business the size that I've seen some of these books of business,
I agree with you. We're not talking small books. These are
yeah. Shit, Jason, I wouldn't even. I would never take an up. I would never take a internet lead unless you. It's insane. It blows my mind what I see, but I'm just taking all this information and I'm trying to build and show dealerships that when you're consistent and when you run a platform, whether it's am I breaking up? Yeah.
No, you're good.
Okay. I'm trying to build something that I can show that, hey, I've been able to bring in and generate business over the last 60, 90 days. And it wasn't even if I made a phone call. It was maybe a simple thank you letter. I mean, in the last, let's say 90 days, I think I've brought in the store over 100 grand in gross.
Yep.
And you know what? Maybe for some stores that's nothing. And you know what? Whatever. That's fine. But these are customers that were conquest customers. These are customers that were fleet customers. And it's just giving them an awareness of the dealership and just reaching out to them. And oh God, it's insane. So I'm doing this remotely, and it's like, shit, what if everybody else just kind of started doing a little bit here, a little bit there? How far could this really go?
Oh no, man, dude, I'm completely with you. I just had a group meeting with a bunch of dealerships. Right now, understand when I put these numbers out there, these are Canadian numbers.
Yeah,
a lot of people will think that's small, right? I was deep diving into their database, and they had over 13,000 people kind of in the group, right? 13,000 people in the databases combined, right? That were driving vehicles that were 4 to 5 years old. So we're talking right at that prime period, and literally on one hand, they're talking about it as a group, they're going to have this $3.5 million budget for marketing and acquiring new customers. And then I'm on the other hand, and this is weird for me because I am the marketing guy. Like I should be like, oh, thank you for the $3.5 million budget. I'll shut up now.
You're like,
Actually, my operations manager wishes I would shut up sometimes. And I'm just like, well, hold on. The meeting's not over. Like, what the hell are you doing with these people? There are 13,000 people here that are driving 4 to 5-year-old vehicles. Like, what are you doing for them? They're like, and this was their honest to God answer. Oh, we'll call them. I'm like, what? Like, that was it. We're gonna make a phone call to him, right?
yeah.
Like, it's cool. I actually convinced these guys to run a "I'm sorry" campaign before they actually made the phone call. It's like, sorry for being a bad neighbor. I know we haven't talked in a while. So the email went out. Actually, pretty good open rates. But
Yeah.
I digress. But you see what I'm saying here, right? We were kind of talking about the point of the matter here is that we're constantly focused on the acquisition, but there's so much opportunity there.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many different ideas that I have and stuff that I want to implement, but you can only implement what you can. And when people give you the platform, then I'm going to go with it. Cause a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, I didn't agree with some of the templates and stuff that were already preloaded. So I just started creating my own, and stuff that I was showing as success rates, I started going with it. And when you talk about Facebook marketing and I don't know if do you follow a lot of the Ford stores up in your region?
I do, and I'm never going to say that I'm like super excited to see what they're marketing or what they're doing on social. So it's like I'll you know what it is? I'm an in and out person, right? It's like literally I'll go like a month or so, and I'm like, I'm not going to consume any dealership's social efforts or marketing efforts because it's just going to piss me off.
Yeah.
And then it's like my optimism will start to kick in, and I'm like, nah, it's probably not that bad. You should go back. You should check what everyone's doing in the market and stuff like that. And then I'll go back, and then I'll be depressed for 3 days, and then the cycle will start all over again.
Well, I would follow all my dealerships, all the competitors on Facebook, and I just because I want to see like what they're doing on social, and because I want to see, hey. And there's a lot of people that are, hey, thanks, John, for your purchase and on your new this and that. And then there's some stores that,
how I feel about this. You know why I'm giggling.
I know. So I just
going.
I know. So I think it's very comical, and that's great, but whatever. But then they have this pre-roll that all the dealerships, they have the same ad, but they run it and it's all through Ford.
Yep.
And it's like, it talks about the same thing. So then you see the other Facebook page and it's the same thing. And I'm just like, how are you guys differentiating yourself from one to the other? Because as a consumer, as somebody that's in the market to buy a vehicle, I would follow all these social media platforms because you want to see who you're going to work with before you go in there, So.
Well, and I think that's the key at the end of the day. We're having to differentiate ourselves, not just in our marketing efforts, but also in our communication efforts, right?
Yeah.
Like, but a lot of dealerships come back to me. Well, no, they already bought the car from me. They're my clients. Like, I'm not like having to, justify, changing up or enhancing my communication efforts just because, but they're already my clients. So I'm good, right? I don't need to do that. Yeah. But what dealerships have to realize is that when we are looking at retention and loyalty, all right, the customer is not comparing you to another dealership. They're comparing you to every other business out there. So it's like, look at Amazon's loyalty efforts, look at Netflix loyalties efforts, look at, whatever clothing store they go to, American Eagle. I shop at American Eagle and I look at their loyalty efforts and their communication efforts, right? So It's like we follow, we're not being judged on our communications efforts within the same category of automotive dealerships. No, we're being judged by everybody, literally what is the retention or loyalty efforts that every business out there has.
Yeah.
So we have to be different. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we have to be different in our marketing efforts. We have to be different in our communication efforts. There's really not much of an option.
Yeah. You have to show a connection. You can't have just pre-roll stuff, and you have to be, this is a quick idea that I thought with Facebook. You could showcase an employee and say, hey, thank you, all my Facebook loyal customers. The first 5 people that go meet John on the sales floor will give you a complimentary oil change. Nothing in return.
Well, and that's true, right? And I look at marketing and communication efforts as being really, really close to each other, right? So the strategies are pretty damn similar. There's 3 reasons why someone ultimately does business with you. Ironically, the 3 reasons why they do business with you is the same 3 reasons why they won't do business with you. So that's something to chew on. But they will do business with you because of your people, your product, or your operational experience.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, those are the exact same 3 reasons why they won't do business with you too. Your people, your product, or lack of an operational experience. So it goes both ways. The reason we know this, this is not I'm not coming up with this and I'm like, yeah, I feel like this. No, it's you read, dude, go to any one of your dealerships, Google reviews, read through the first 50 Google reviews. You're going to see patterns. You're going to see how often people's names are used. Susan was great. Jason was really, really helpful. Joe never followed up with me. No, I know you wouldn't do that. But the names are used so often, right? Mm-hmm. Then occasionally you say I love my RAV4. It's a great car. I really like my Subaru. So they'll put product in there as well.
Yeah.
And then to the dealer, to the consumer, the way they express operational experience is through, it was a great experience. It was hassle-free. It was fast. It was very convenient. I didn't feel pressured, right? For someone to actually feel that and to define that as the experience, the only way they did so is because our processes let them feel that or let them experience that, or lack of in some cases. That's why actually I love the word experience. It's actually one of my favorite words because it goes both ways again, right? When I read all these Google reviews, you read all these Google reviews, the word experience is used just as often in negative comments as it is in positive comments.
You can tell right away when you work with somebody how their level of experience or level with dealing with your situation that you've presented to them when you come in for service, or you can tell if they've done this before.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, you hit it right on the button with, taking care, the people and setting up processes, and it's very important. But,
and that's what our communication efforts need to look like, right?
Yeah.
You kind of need to float in a combination of these 3. But if you're always focusing on one, then you're really losing out the opportunity in the other. So, when you're making these calls, being able to, include the message of the product, which is important. I'm not saying you shouldn't include that. I think you should, right?
Yeah.
The product could be anything. Could be a car, could be an oil change, could be an accessory. I don't really give a crap what it is, right?
Yeah.
Then there's the people. Then there's the message of the people. It's how often do we not talk about, our people? Is it easy when we send an email piece out to an entire database of people that in the bottom, we can literally include and say, let me introduce you to our employee of the month. All right. Jackie has been with us for she's, you know what I mean? It's okay, oh, that's kind of cool, right? Now, as a company, you're telling the consumer that people actually matter to you, so that you can include it in your, in your consistent communication efforts, and the product of operational experience. You want me to come to trade in my vehicle? I get this. All right. As a consumer, I can understand. You want me to come trade in my vehicle?
Yeah.
Well, then give me a freaking reason to do it. Give me some real value, something I can really chew on. But no, most of the time we're like, oh, we want you to come trade in your vehicle, because we're going to give you, wait for it, here it comes, top dollar.
195% above the market value.
What the hell does that mean? I'm like jazz hands right now. But no, seriously though, what does that mean? That there's no value? What is the customer doesn't mean what 195% of market value is, or what top dollar means. That's horrible, right? No, literally identify what that operational experience is going to be, right? You know, it's like we are so committed to getting you the most amount of money. Like, here's what we do. Here's the technology we use. Here's what happens when you come into the dealership. All right, here's what the process is going to be. Or you know what? Even hell, screw it. You want to train your vehicle? You don't even have to come to the dealership. I'll come to you. Like, you know, like there needs to be an operational experience. We want people to take action, but we're not giving them anything to chew on, you know?
You're not building any value. You're not showing them why they want to do business with you.
It's like, why does nobody schedule a test drive with me? I'm like, are you bloody kidding me? Have you ever gone to a dealership's website and clicked on a test drive form? I fucking love it. I love it. First name, last name, blood type, shoe size, name of firstborn, date and time in which you want to come. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't have that. But you know, it might as well. Well. Like literally, there's no value proposition. None whatsoever. We've never defined a value proposition on why someone should actually fill out one of these damn forms.
Yeah.
But we have that opportunity in our communication efforts.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. What's your thoughts on like, I see a lot of video stuff you do. Mm-hmm. What about like the animated stuff? I've seen a video that you put out. What's your thoughts on that?
You know what? Funny thing, animated videos for us, I'll tell you how it kind of started. Dealerships wanted to make a commitment to communicating to their customers in a unique way through video, but would not make the commitment to the routine. So, you know, it's like you'll schedule time to come shoot a video with them, and they're like, I'm sick today, or you know what, I got an appointment, I can't do this. So finally I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna start doing videos without people, with you know. So then we start doing these animated videos, and I say animated, everyone thinks Pixar. It's not Pixar. Okay, no, this is like really simple 2D animated characters, right? But the animated characters can do some pretty cool things. I think one of my favorite ones is I have Freddie from Ready, the New Girl. Okay, so she's Freddie from Ready, the New Girl. In email communication efforts and also marketing efforts, we get to learn about the dealership's products and their services and their people and their operational experiences through the eyes of Freddie. And Freddie's just a pleasant, easygoing, fun-loving, you know, she's Freddie from Ready, the New Girl. Yeah. You know, and so it allows us to create a consistent message, but bring value to the customer.
Yeah, I've been looking at doing some of that. Just you know, I think the video marketing and the animated stuff, it has some value there. I'm just trying to. Well,
I did 800 videos last year for dealerships. So yeah, just a few. And funny thing is, this year we probably do you mind just in the first month we've already done over 100.
Really?
Yeah.
Good responses though from people.
Animated. When you're thinking of like social media, there's a lot of talking heads out there. Like this piece will get turned into a talking head. Oh well, not much we can do about that. But I find the animated pieces seem to be engaging higher, even though the message is the same. And it may just be for a simple fact that it is just a much different piece of content. There's not a larger percentage of that style of content out there. So that could be the reason for consumption is higher than just a talking head or someone standing there in front of a camera.
Yeah. I'm just curious because I'm dabbing into that a little bit, and do you mind sharing with me do you have a platform, or you guys have software that you guys would recommend?
Yeah, we do. I'm trying to remember the name of it now. You know what? After this, I will find out, and I'll DM you.
That's fine. No worries, man.
I know my team told me they just switched it recently. Crap, I can't remember the name. I will find out for you, and I'll get it back for you.
No, it's all good. Like I said, I'm always trying to do something different. You know,
Go Animate. There we go.
Animate.
Go Animate. That's the name of the product. Yeah, check it out. You know, I don't believe in any secret sauces. There's no secret sauce, right? Go Animate's a great tool. Auto Verify, the tool you're using, it's a great tool. But tool is only as good as how well someone can use it. That's it.
Yep. So the platform that I use, it's only as good as what you make of it.
Exactly.
You know, all this data, all this information that you get, it's like, oh my goodness, it's amazing. You know, but what are you going to do with it?
Exactly.
How are you going to activate it? So,
well, Joe, I know we're getting to the end of our time. This has been a lot of fun. It was a great conversation. I think there's just so many little chunks in here about communication efforts, mindset changes from retention, more of a mindset of loyalty. And it's
Yep.
just really, I think at the end of the day, it's committing to your communication process and sticking to the routine. And
Yeah.
that's where you're able to do. You're able to really kind of come in and create that routine for the dealership so that it consistently happens and it's not just this periodic thing that jumps in and out, right?
Yeah.
For everyone out there that's listening and watching right now, Joe, and would love to connect with you and learn more about what you do, what is the best way to do so?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Just look up Joe Triana. That's the best way to connect with me is through LinkedIn. You can also, connect with me through Jason. He knows how
There
to
you
get
go. Just ask me. I'll know how to get a hold of him.
Jason. I'm open to helping dealerships, whether it's on the fixed or the variable end, on the platforms that I'm working with. I've taken a platform, I've shown levels of success, on the variable end, and just simple things, being consistent.
Yep.
So that's what I'm
Consistency,
about.
man. That's what it's all about. Hey, Joe, again, thank you so much for your time today. I had a lot of fun doing this.
Hey, thank you.